Hey guys, as kids, we are assigned teachers. And if we participated in extra activities like sports or in the arts or whatever, we were assigned a coach. And as adults, most of the time, we could also say we're assigned managers in our place of employment. I've had a lot of conversations recently about how to actually choose a mentor. And I think it's because most of the time they're just assigned to us. But in the personal growth arena, where you really take back control over your life, you get to choose your coaches and your leaders and your mentors that align best to and for you. So today, I give you the inside scoop on some of maybe the good decisions with coaches I've made, and then also some of my struggles when selecting mentors. If you've invested in coaches before, I hope this episode brings you just some relief about a shared experience that tends to happen to all of us. I'll also share specific investment amounts just in case that helps ballpark some things for you. Obviously, that'll be relative to my situation. And if you have never explored coaching, I promise that this episode will leave you with a few key things just to look at for whether you decide to hire your own coach, seek out a professional developmentor, or even just as you look around at the leaders in your life, whether they were assigned to you or chosen by you, to just take a moment to pulse check if those leaders are really elevating and expanding you, or if it may be time to manage up or coach up. So, big topic today. I'm so excited to unjuggle this one together. Let's go. All right, guys. So hang in there with me today. I am fighting off a little bit of a cold from our family fall road trip, but I'm excited to get back into this, especially too with just some of the current events. I think that this is such a relevant episode and excited what I've got planned for you. So when we reflect back on our lives, like think about how many mentors or coaches have truly just been assigned to us versus us actually like seeking out a specific mentor. Now, if you've played in the professional or even personal development space, perhaps you've heard of this idea of coaches and maybe even dabbled in some selection of a coach, like specifically for maybe a goal that you wanted to obtain. Or I know I often hear about like leadership or mentorship programs, especially if you're in an executive level role. So I actually remember laughing out loud the first time that someone told me about having a life coach. I was in my young 20s and absolutely just baffled that someone would spend money to have someone else hold them accountable to their own greatest desires for wealth, connection, career success, personal growth, all of it. Like I laughed because I didn't get it. In my brain, I was processing it that if it's your dream, your life, then why the heck can't you just hold yourself accountable? It seemed pretty obvious to me. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was about four questions that just kind of kept replaying for me. And the questions were, what if I had an unbiased, invested party providing focused support for my dreams? Hmm. What if I had a chosen mentor whose literal job was to make sure that I fulfilled my maximum potential? Huh. What if there was always someone there as a sounding board to provide clarity, to challenge me, to provide authentic feedback in alignment with my greatest aspirations? And what if a trusted resource could teach me how to excel rapidly through practical tools and techniques instead of me having to try and figure it out all on my own the hard way, right? This is where my original obsession with the personal development and self-help industry really took roots, and where I couldn't stop soaking up content from all the greats like Tony Robbins, Oprah, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brene Brown, and so many more. I spent over the last decade getting my hands on as much, for the most part, I'd say I would say entirely free resources just to help me position my life and explore this whole coaching and selected like mentorship idea versus just the leaders that had always been assigned to me. And I have shared too that it wasn't actually until just 2 years ago that I really put some money into dedicated coaches. And I think that the first program, I want to say that the first one I did was like $47 for an e-course. And yet, before that year was up, I would invest a total of $10,000 in one-on-one coaching, in e-courses, in two mastermind groups. Yeah, I think that was it. That was enough for that year. And keeping in mind that that was actually more, that $10,000, that was actually more than I had invested in myself since my college degree, which seemed like a lifetime ago. So to actually stomach financially investing into dedicated coaching for myself and my goals, it was a brand new ball game. And especially that ripe investment of $10,000 all in the first year, I mean, you would say that's like going all in. Now, I do have to preface this. It is absolutely not about the money you can or cannot today invest into yourself and coaching. Please keep in mind that I spent a decade consuming free materials before I just got to the point and I knew I was prepared and it made sense and I was ready to make that financial investment. The key here is how I actually went about choosing my mentors along the way and learning really fast what a good coach actually should do for you. Whether you're consuming free content or whether you're paying, I've paid upward of $25,000 for a coach. So let's break it down like this. First, I'll share the top 3 things to look for when choosing a mentor. And then I also, kind of on the backside of that, I want to share the 3 pitfalls that come up all too often. And then we'll wrap up with the 5 things that a great mentor in any capacity, whether that is professional, whether it is personal, whether it is chosen or assigned, those 5 things that any great mentor should actually do for you when you are receiving their guidance and when you're aligned to their leadership. The first coach that I ever signed up for, it was a one-on-one coaching with someone, and this was someone who I had seen on a stage previously. I had followed her social account that absolutely just seemed to be blowing up, and I was personally attracted to this journey that she was sharing about where her successes were taking her. Her marketing was killer, and it did display aspects of a life that I wanted to aspire to. The testimonies started rolling in, and the evolution was literally happening right before my eyes. So that was really exciting for me too. After a few DMs back and forth, we were on a consult call, which is very normal. Normally they're, sometimes they're 15 minutes, sometimes they're a 30-minute free discovery call or consult call. And before the end of that consult, she had done all of the 5 things that a good coach should do. And boom, I signed a one-on-one contract with her. At this point in my own personal development journey, I knew what it was that I was looking for. And it was these 3 things. So, first up, number one, do they have what you want? Are they the type of person you want to aspire to? And this first one, I would say this one really does require a certain level of due diligence. Like, I had to know just a general direction about the kind of life that I wanted to live or the type of career, or maybe it's for you like, maybe there's a specific goal or there's something you want to learn more about. Like, you have to have some general direction in order to find the mentors in the field of desire. And then it's on each of us to just continue to make sure that we're not just looking at like what's being presented to us via, for instance, the marketing channels and the awesome website, but to actually like look at the fruits of their work or their life. So this comes down to just basic, like for instance, you're not going to take marital advice from someone who has never been married, right? Like that just doesn't make sense. So you're not going to work with a speaking coach who has never actually been on a big stage, right? Like you look at the fruits or the results of their work and you make sure that that's aligned. So whatever it is you're looking for, do they seem to live that out consistently across all of their platforms and across all of their works? Number two, are they able to meet you where you are at today? And do they have a system or a framework they can walk you through to show you how they are actually going to get you from point A, which is where you're at, to where you want to go, point B? We've all walked our own journeys. And yet, because we're human, there are so many of us that have some similar shoes or scenarios we've all been in. There are, for instance, like I think that we can all relate to, there's like how many of us had that first job that we hated? Or how many of us have experienced like grief or heartbreak or completed degrees or not completed degrees, or who, like so many of us are caregivers, or so many of us carry the same financial stresses or the weight of just constant guilt. Like we're all different, yes, but we're also really similar. So, when aligning with a mentor, look for someone who's been in similar shoes to where you're at now, point A, and is now living the life you desire and aspire to be, point B. That's normally going to be a really good fit. Now, here's the bonus part to this. Can they easily articulate the how? How they got from point A to point B? Just because someone has taken the journey doesn't mean that they were paying attention enough to actually know how they got there. So, like, that's like asking someone, for instance, oh my gosh, how did you get the promotion? And they respond, I have no idea. I guess just a lot of hard work. Okay, cool. While I'm sure it did take a lot of hard work, that isn't actually helpful for you as the person who maybe is also seeking the promotion. You want, right? You want the step by step playbook so that you know how and who you need to show up as and what you can do too to get that promotion. You see what I mean? So, in my personal experience, a strong mentor, leader, coach, I really think you can use those interchangeably. They can articulate a system or a framework or a thought pattern or a mindset step by step transformation so that you can use those same steps as a guide to actually apply it in your own life and to fast track your own success from point A to point B. So if you happen to do a consult call, either just like listen for these things to be outlined or straight up just ask, what is the process? Like, how'd you do it? And you're like, this again, this another, I don't know why this example's coming to me. It's like, I've never skydived, but I just imagine this is how it is. So you're not going to try something like skydiving for the first time and not at least like ask the instructor, hey, professional skydiver, like what steps do I need to be aware of on this free fall so I don't die? Like, I think it's very normal. Just ask what the process is. Like, ask what the journey looks like. You want to know, and you want to know you're going to align with a mentor that actually has a plan, not someone who's just going to like wing your very expensive sessions. And then the third thing that I look for when choosing my mentors, hands down, I am paying attention to if there is just a natural connection and exchange of energy. You know how you typically know within the first few minutes of meeting someone for the first time if you're like, yeah, I think we could maybe keep talking, or if it's like, ew, like pulling teeth and it's awkward and it's just the conversation is so hard. You're like, get me out of this. I gotta go. Like, I think I hear somebody calling for me, right? Is there at least a natural connection and energy that just excites you, that when you're on that consult call, you just know this is somebody who you could talk to? And if all three of those things check out, good. Like that's a really good start. Now, I also want to share, like I said, on the back side of this, though, I want to share the three pitfalls that come up all too often. I talk to so many of my peers, and I just want to call it out. And we all have at least one very similar, same story that goes something like this. It sounds like this. I can hear so many voices saying it. It's like, oh, I paid a large sum of money for coaching and didn't get much from it other than weekly calls where they were just trying to push their own agenda to upsell me into higher level programs. It was a waste of my time. It was a waste of my money, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah, not cool, bro. And it happens way too often. And it's also why coaching gets a really bad rap, and it totally stinks, and it totally fires me up. There's so many people out there who have not put in their time from a leadership perspective, a mentorship perspective, to be presenting themselves as coaches. But I guess I'll get off the high horse here. So, three things right out of the gates that you could do just to avoid locking yourself into bad mentorship, like choosing bad mentorship. Number one, do they actually have what you want? Not, are they just really good at marketing themselves? Can they and are they walking the walk? And how do you know? Right. So I will tell you, my brain first goes to, oh, just ask for references. But I will also tell you that in about 15 years of staffing, that most people are going to provide you with references that are going to speak highly of them. That's why they ask the person to be a reference. So just be aware of that. And then also too, it's really nice. I think that the testimonials that you tend to get out there, or they're all over the websites, I do think that that can be a wonderful indication and a great starting place. But I think that that's, again, those were asked for, those were sought after, permission was given to post those. So kind of similar to a reference. But what I like to do is I always like to look at their journey. And I don't just go to like the last 90 days of social media posts. No, like I'll go back to some of their very first published articles or very first published YouTube videos, or I'll skim through. Like, I want to see their own evolution. And even more, I ask them about their journey. So anytime, either, if I'm looking at one-on-one investment or mastermind investment, I would say I've got pretty standard questions. One of them being like, hey, tell me, how did you start out? Another one being, what are three things that they really believe catapulted their success? Again, I'm looking for in that, I'm trying to hear for, is there a system that they can articulate? And what do you think, like I asked them, what do you think got in your way at the beginning? Because I want to know that they potentially understand where I'm coming from, and again, that they're aware of their own pitfalls and what they had to go through to get to the other side and now walk the walk. So I legit ask those three questions anytime I'm looking for new mentorship. So ask them about their journey and how those results specifically have changed their life, and then just pay attention to any red flags that just don't feel like they add up. Second pitfall that comes up is this whole idea of like, do they really understand your situation and priorities? Are they more focused on pushing that proven system, that framework? And as I mentioned, it's one thing to have a system and a framework. It needs to exist. But I've also had this happen to me where, for instance, like a previous leader or a coach, they were more interested in pushing their agenda and their process, exactly how it worked for them, versus recognizing those differences between our journeys and actually being able to help me uncover ways to leverage my unique abilities and desires that were different than theirs. So, how do you uncover this potential pitfall ahead of time? I would advise that you look for like check-in or pulse check or one-on-one reviews that are already baked into this process or the framework or the system, because this is going to show you that you're aligning with a mentor who recognizes that we all move at different speeds and that we all have different unique abilities, and that they understand and hold space for their role as somebody who is supposed to create space for transformation to happen the way it needs to for you, not for them to keep their program on track. And you could also ask for them to, I think one way to maybe uncover this in a conversation with them would be you could ask for them to disclose an example about someone maybe who didn't complete their program and what happened. And the key would be here that when they answer that question, you're looking to hear some level of accountability on the coach's side. Like the answer can't just be, oh, well, the client had life come up, because guess what? We all have life like come up every single day. You want to hear something where like this mentor just acknowledges their role in why maybe the client didn't finish the program, and even to how maybe since they've changed that in their framework or addressed it for their future program enrollees. So this may also show up if you join something like a mastermind. I hear this one happen, and this happened to me too. The primary host or the coach, like where they never even know your name. And again, it happens all the time. It just comes back to ensuring that you're doing your due diligence on the front end. And then last, but definitely not least, and this one breaks my heart. Number 3, pitfall. Are they too busy for you? Ooh. And I think why this one can sting so badly is that it usually happens after you've been so excited, after you've signed the contract, and then all of a sudden you start to feel less like the priority. It's kind of like starting a new job, right? Like at first, the leadership is all about let's shake hands, let's take you to lunch, let's really make you feel welcome. And then 2 months later, you're like begging for a one on one or for some feedback because you still don't feel like you've grasped the training, but the manager's too busy to fit you in. Exactly. What I've learned with this one is that everybody has a capacity, and you just want to be aware of how your selected coach or mentor is aligning with theirs. So, for instance, do they only have a limited number of seats available in their masterminds? Or do they only take on a certain number of one on one clients? Or do they structure their year where maybe the first half they're really focused on going to events, and then the last half they're really focused on clients? It's okay to ask what these limits look like for the coach that you may be considering working with. And disclaimer here, right? Know that just because one coach is looking for 5 enrollees and another is looking for 50 enrollees, that doesn't mean that the quality of the coaching or that the quality of the transformation will be any less between those two coaches. It just simply is about managing expectations of the amount of attention maybe that you really want or that you believe you may need as you work towards this this aspiration from point A to point B and beyond. So simply just establishing those expectations at the beginning. Know how much one-on-one time you're going to get. Know what happens if you start to struggle. Know what happens if you need assistance between sessions. Just ask those type of things. Okay. Goodness gracious, I think this is kind of turning into a lengthy episode. So thanks for hanging out here with me. We'll go ahead. We'll just take just a few more minutes just to really sit with, and this is probably my favorite part here. So this is what I want to highlight, that um, when you're working with a coach, what the best coaches, the best mentors, the most like impactful, influential leaders in the world, what should happen when you are with the right leader, mentor, coach? Top 5 things. And it's easy, it's straightforward. And if you take a moment just to look back on even some of the most influential people in your life already, I bet you recognize these 5 things. Number one, they empower the heck out of you. So whether it is finding ways to like help you see skills that you already have, or whether it's with new teachings from them or new exposures or new growth like that they can provide, so that what happens when you're empowered is you actually feel empowered enough to come up with like a real action plan and execute against it. Number two, they have tough conversations and with critical feedback that's presented in a way that resonates. Like they know how much growth and development can happen when personalized, unbiased, loving feedback is provided for your benefit. So, while sure, it is nice to have cheerleaders in the corner. That's awesome. Most of us are not paying to have fans. We're paying to create real movement in our lives, which is exactly the third thing a mentor should do for and with you: movement. Whether that is movement away from things or habits or mindsets that are no longer serving you, or maybe movement towards new perspective and habits or boundaries that could serve you very well. Movement, normally out of your own way, it's a big one, but it's absolutely the whole reason that you would want to choose a mentor is for movement. You didn't raise your hand and take a bold step to invest in yourself so that you could end up in the same version of you that you started out as. You wanted to be moved because that's the result of growth and transformation. Number four, they practice and you can expect the utmost level of accountability and to be held accountable. They do what they say because they honor the responsibility that they have to your growth, and they hold you accountable to doing the same. And number five, the most important and the thing that I value at the highest level of a good mentor, the best leaders. This one is so good. They ask you questions that help you generate options that fit into your life so that you can actually start thinking and operating in a way that is going to elevate your life. Questions generate curiosity, which gives life to creative solutioning and an elevated way of living. You literally rise up and level up in expansion as a new version of yourself while working alongside the best leaders and coaches because they are asking you to they're asking you to contemplate like the right questions for curiosity and the solutions that your life is craving. Boom. If that ain't a mic drop moment, I'm totally putting that into a future keynote. Come on, that felt good. Okay. Goodness gracious. So, how do we even wrap this up like we normally do? All right. All right. This is going to feel like a long summary, but let's do this. I got this. We can do this. We can do this. Okay. So, the unjuggle to how do we select good mentors struggle is this. When selecting a mentor, keep these 3 things in mind. One, do they have what you want? And are they the type of person you aspire to be? You'll know this by looking at the fruits or the results of their work. Two, have they walked in similar shoes to those that you're in now? And do they have a defined system, framework, or step by step process that they can articulate to you on how they got from point A to point B? And number three, paying attention to if there's a natural connection and exchange of good energy that feels good when you actually engage with them. 3 pitfalls to watch out for as you're looking for a good leader or a good coach include number one, avoid being swayed by flashy marketing. Make sure they are actually walking the walk. And you can do that by asking those 3 key questions that I shared about, how did they start out? What are 3 things that they believed catapulted their success and what got in their way at the beginning? Number two, be aware of programs that are so structured that there is no time for your unique abilities or circumstances or your individual timeline of change to be a priority. Like it should be. So be aware of programs where that's not the priority. Number 3, ensuring just that the mentor has structured their days and their programs where you remain a priority. And it's best just to discuss these expectations just right at the beginning. And then my favorite part of the whole episode, and really the reason that I have loved every single leadership role, every single mentorship role, every single coaching role that I have ever had, are the 5 things that the best leaders and coaches and mentors out there do for and with you. Number 1, they empower the heck out of you. Number 2, they have tough conversations with critical feedback presented in a way that resonates. Number 3, they help you create movement in your life to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Number 4, they go first, they practice, and they expect the highest levels of accountability. And number 5, they ask you questions that help you generate curiosity, which leads to creative solutioning for your life in an elevated way of living, far, far beyond just the point A to point B journey. All right, guys. To whatever degree you are looking for a mentor, a leader, or a coach just to help you facilitate a desired change in your life, I hope that you lean into these principles and that my navigation of this over the years, that it can help you fast track into making the right decision for you too when you're ready. Obviously, I have shared with you, and I believe that you continue to show up week after week because you know that coaching, being a movement maker, is what I was born to do. And I feel so grateful that I get to do it via this podcast each week. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being on this journey. And if you're ready for a coaching consult, would you book your call already? Book your call with me, free consult call. Ask me some of these questions, like test me out. Come on, I want to know you were listening too. But more than that, I can't wait to hear more about your big dreams, your whispers of passion and purpose that are turning into roars in your life. And I can't wait to celebrate the moment that you decide to take action for your one wild and precious life. You got this. We got this. Until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means a world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.